The U.S. has the absolute biggest government, not only the biggest government, the biggest spending of any other government or any other country in the world. And it's by a wide margin. Well, today we're going to talk about the breaking point of that and why, truthfully guys, I hate to admit it, the things that we're doing is actually socialism. We kind of push against it. We try not to be socialist, but these numbers are overwhelming. Now, what we're going to talk about also is if we are this, and we are going to see a breaking point because we can't keep in this six-cycle carousel, what does it look like and what should we be doing? What do we need to be doing to prepare for a breaking point? Well, today we're going to talk about that. It starts right now. Hey guys, welcome to the Max. Thank you so very much for being here today. If you're new to the channel, go down here, press subscribe, ring the bell, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down, that's okay, but let us know what you think about the content of the video. Not only that, when you give thoughtful discernment and you give wisdom and you give common sense approaches in your comments, it helps us grow as a community and again, helps us navigate the world that we live in. Why are we the biggest nation? Why are we contributing more? Why are we doing the things that we're doing? Actually, really, we're just blinded socialists. And then from there, as we keep on going down this pathway, what should we be doing to make sure we're prepared for that breaking point when it comes? Now let's jump into that. Approximately 3 million people work directly for the federal government. The federal government spends $6.13 trillion in 2023. The figure is larger than the GDP of every nation on the entire planet, except for the US and China. More than 70 million Americans are on Social Security. More than 65 million Americans are on Medicare. More than 81 million Americans are on Medicaid. More than 41 million Americans are on food stamps. This is from an article from Zero Hedge. It says, of course, there are many more programs that hand out money to our population on a regular basis. We have reached a stage where most U.S. households are at least partially dependent or fully dependent. Listen to that, partially or fully dependent on the federal government. I love this statement here. It says, we very much prefer not to call ourselves socialists, but that is exactly and precisely who we are. Sadly, we have attempted to go back to the way things were 100 years ago. Most Americans would not survive. Now that's the point of the video. We have to get to the point where we realize if we went back 100 years ago, if we did not have the things that we had, could you survive? I didn't say it would be easy. It wouldn't be easy for anybody. I mean, working a farm daily is not easy. Going without power or water is not easy. But we got to get to the point where, you know, you think 100 years ago we were looking at World War I and the Depression. That was kind of in that same generation time. Could we face those things again? You know, they say history repeats itself. If history repeats itself with the Depression and with another world war, could we honestly face that when the majority of Americans are looking for monies to come back from the government? See, the thing about Medicare and Social Security, you've paid into the system. I'm paying into the system every time I get a paycheck. Every 2 or 3 weeks that I get paid, you see those line out items. As a business owner, I do the same thing. I see those line out items and I have to pay that for my employees as well. So what it is the government has regulated even businesses and people, employees, to contribute to a system that is broken, that is basically making us slaves to the system. Do you get what I'm saying? So we don't have access to our own monies. We don't have access to our own health care because we allow the government to give that to us. And then we are happy. Like I heard a guy the other day say, I can't wait to get my Social Security. Sadly, what he's saying is he can't make it on what he's got. He's tired of working because he's contributed as much as he can. Instead of having retirement though, he has to depend on his Social Security. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but Social Security, the way they've developed it, it was not meant to be a true retirement account. It was not meant to be everything for you. It was meant to be a supplement. The problem is we as Americans, because we've been so overly scammed and regulated and so overly taxed and we spend like crazy, we've become to depend on Medicare. We've come to depend on Medicaid. We've come to depend on Social Security. We've come to depend on food stamps. We've come to depend on every government handout that's available. I bet you if you polled Americans right now and said, okay, the government's willing to give you $2,000 or $3,000 as stimulus, would you take it? The only thing is we have to, have to get a little bit more identification of you. We'd have to get your blood work. We'd have to find out a little bit more about you. Honestly, people would line up for it. They would line up for it. I bet you majority of Americans would line up to get $2,000 or $3,000. They'd sell everything they have. They would give all their rights away for that money, because they think the government's always out there to take care of them. What we're doing is we're just building a socialist nation. Now the problem is we're going to come to a tipping point or a breaking point because we can't survive what we're doing. The article continues. It says we cannot provide enough money to keep going, so the federal government has been piling up insane amounts of debt. Since 1980, the size of the U.S. national debt has gone from $1 trillion to $34 trillion. Now, I think we don't realize how much money that is. Listen to this. The combined wealth of Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, Ken Griffin, Mark Cuban, Ray Dalio, and George Soros, which are some of the biggest players and of course the richest men in the world, would not be enough to even cover the interest on the debt for a single year. If we took all their wealth, so when you hear all these politicians say, well, the rich is not paying their fair share, if you took 100% of all those men, you know how much that would be? $726 billion you would take from them. Not even $1 trillion. It would not even pay the interest on the national debt for 1 year. That means we're at a breaking point. Their combined value is $726 billion. The current debt payment or interest payment on the debt is $730 billion per year. Isn't that amazing? We cannot keep doing what we're doing. We are now at a point where the national debt has become a major national crisis, and the percentage of Americans that believe that the politicians should do something about it has gone up. A Pew Research report shows that 57% of Americans believe that the politicians can do something about it. Sadly, I imagine if you polled the audience, I bet 90% of people believe that the politicians won't do anything about it, because remember, they want your vote. So if they start cutting money, cutting jobs, cutting spending, then they believe that they're going to cut their own pockets off and cut their own legs off. So therefore, they're not going to do it. So they're going to keep spending, and we're going to endlessly put ourselves in a deep abyss of a depression. Just last month, December, in fact, the size of the federal deficit for December is 52% larger than it was the same month a year ago. So we are blowing this deficit up. We are blowing our interest payments up. We are blowing the fact of spending up. So we're going to come to a point of breaking. The breaking point is going to destroy the dollar, it's going to destroy households, and it's going to put you believing that you're needing socialism more and more and more, because you need the programs that the government gives. We need government printing money to give us money so we can make it. What you don't realize is the more money they give you, the more goods cost. The fact is you're getting more dollars that's not paying for the things that you're needing. Look at the housing market, prime example. People can't afford a home. 50% of people are living with their parents. 50% of the last generation, 50% of Gen Z and millennials are living with their parents. Why? Because they can't afford a house. Houses are at record prices this year. So all that stimulus, all that money that was been given has actually caused problems. It floated to the top. It's like frothed milk in your coffee. What happens? You put it in your milk, you stir it up, and then what does it do? It rises to the top. My cream, when I milk, it rises to the top. When stimulus happens, it doesn't stay in the middle class and lower class. Those people don't know how to save the money, so it rises to the top. Makes the richer richer. And guess what? All the billionaires and all the multimillionaires that own these companies from 2020 to 2024, look at their wealth gain. Look how much money they've made. It's because it rose to the top. It's a fake way of making you a socialist by giving you more money, giving you more handouts, more programs, because then you become dependent. My pigs, they know exactly where I'm gonna feed them every day. I move around. I could literally put any and everything over that fence because they know that's where they're going to eat. I could walk around and pour food on the other side, and they're just going to stand looking right where they always are, wondering why I didn't pour the food there. They become dependent on that spot. They become dependent on food being brought right there. We're the same way. We are people that are being led like sheep to the slaughter because we are literally walking into these traps, all in the name of, please give me $1,000, please give me $500, please give me food stamps, give me free health care, give me free college. It's wrong. Now here's where you've got to change it. You've got to quit spending money. You have got to quit going in debt. You can't help what the government's doing. I mean, you can push your congressman and push your Senate, but to be honest with you, it's like beating a dead horse. They're not going to move. They're not going to do anything for you. They're going to watch it tank because they're not affected, because they're getting loads of money to keep pushing the narrative. But the problem is, you have to take care of your family. They're not worried about your family. You have to worry about your family. So what do? You have to invest wisely. You have to make sure you're putting up money and assets, bartering goods, and things that hold value. Sometimes cash won't be key, but right now it still is. So have some cash. If you've watched any dystopian movie and everything goes wrong, what do they need? They need cash. If you watch anything that represents end times, people have to have cash of some sort. Now, does that mean you put all your wealth in cash? No, absolutely not. I love buying precious metals. That's one thing I love doing. Not only that, you see all this behind me? There's pigs, there's cattle, there's trees, there's real estate, there's hay. I find the bartered good because I understand that I have to eat. I have to take care of my family. So it may be the land that you're sitting on. It may be that you can co-op with the family and friends and go in together and buy a piece of property. It may be putting some up in savings in a bank. But be careful of that, because remember, they're not looking out for you either. They're looking out for who owns the bank. Nothing against putting money in a bank. I have money in a bank, have money, and have had money in the bank. But you can't put it all there. A few other things. You have to make sure that you are paying off your debts. Put them up. Follow a Dave Ramsey plan, or follow someone who can teach you how to get out of debt. You have to start getting out of debt so you can have some independence and make sure your sustainability is on you and not someone collecting a note from you. Remember, the borrower is always slave to the lender. That's biblical. Food, water, shelter, getting out of debt, making sure that you're putting up true wealth, meaning I have to take my cash and use it and buy things that are bartered goods. I have to use it to buy things that's going to benefit me. I got to use it to buy precious metals, and then I've got to keep some cash just in case I can't use my digitized forms. Remember, the more digital that you're using, the more they're controlling you too, because they are playing games and knowing that where you're spending, so they know what you need the most and what you are not buying. You have to protect yourself because no one else is going to do it. We are at a breaking point when it comes to your money, and the more that you allow the government to give you handouts, the more you're allowing yourself to be dependent and truly just call yourself what you are, a socialist. If you're on Medicare and Social Security, you're not a socialist. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they've made us believe, though, that if we contribute into their system, that it's all going to be okay when we retire. And I know most of you, if you're on Social Security and Medicare, and that's all your money that you get and all the health care you get, I bet you're struggling. I bet you're struggling. You know why you're struggling? Because you believed our government, just like we all would. We want to see the good in our government. But if our government is telling us, hey, you don't need any other form, here's your money right here. And then all of a sudden it's a Ponzi scheme because you're making way less than probably what you contributed, and you're struggling. And I'm sorry, I hate it for you. I challenge you to find, if you can and you're able, try to find a little side hustle job to work 1 or 2 days a week. I have 2 or 3 older guys that work with me, and that's exactly what they do. They're trying to make a little extra money here and there because they know their Social Security is not enough. We're getting to those breaking points make hard times. Hard times make strong men, and we're to that point. It's time to stand up, be strong men, strong women, and realize that even though you have to contribute in things like Social Security, Medicare, all that, can't help that. The government's going to keep spending money. You can't help that. But you can help yourself. And you can start saving money. And you can cut your budgets. And you can start putting up wealth in a way that's safe. Not just all in the stock market and all in the bank. It may be in gold. It may be in food. It may be in water. It may be in bartering goods. It may be in a cow. It may be in some trees and some land. Find value in it. Guys, thank you so much for watching. The breaking point is coming. So therefore, it takes you to be ready. Prepare yourself financially. It's hard. It's hard right now because inflation's crazy, interest is crazy, and things are not getting cheaper. But you can do it. Believe that you can do it. God bless. Happy homesteading, y'all.